What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Young Philip, and I'm back with another video for y'all today. And before we get started with today's video, I would like y'all to click the like button down below, giving it a thumbs up. Make sure y'all click that subscribe button, but make sure y'all click that bell so y'all can be notified and don't miss any of my videos. Today's video will be simply titled, Which Era is the Best? So, without further ado, let's begin. The eras I'm going to be talking about is like, of course, the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and then 2010s. The 2010 era, the only time of the 2010s I could care less, I'm only caring about is 2010 through 2012. That's about it. A little bit of 2016, but that's the era there. But let's begin. The 80s, one of the time periods I was alive. I've heard a lot about the 80s being one of the best decades of all time. When it came to music, movies, TV shows, and of course, fashion, of course. Let's see. Favorite movies from the 80s era. I love the Rocky 3, Rocky 4 movie. And I love Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee. I like the, what was another movie from the 80s era I like? I also like the movie Beverly Hills Cop, even though I've only seen bits and pieces of it. It's a really good, dope movie. I've seen Coming to America a few times here and there. I've seen Harlem Nights. And also, what is another movie from the 80s era I've seen? The Heathcliff movie, even though they just showed nothing but fucking old episodes. But I think I got one more of the 80s movies I like. I would say like one last 80s movie I really rock with would be I would say Colors, but no, I didn't really watch a whole lot of that movie to even put it in my favorite 80s movie category. But I will say that I've seen a little bit of I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. TV shows from the 80s that I've ever seen. I've seen A-Man. I've seen The Cosby Show. And I've also seen A Different World, which was a spinoff. What I hated most about A Different World was that Denise was only for like in one season of A Different World. And then they changed the intro and she's no longer part of the show. It's like, wait, why? Why? Another show from the 80s I've seen Family Matters. It started in 89. Another show from the 80s. There's another show I'm trying to think of that came out during the 80s era. Let's see. Jefferson's been out since the mid to late 70s and it didn't end until like 85. But there was a show that was really popping. It was called MASH, and that was out since 72. But another show in the 80s that I like was I think that's, let's see, cartoon shows. Heathcliff, that was my favorite. The Littles, I like that. And of course, like I've seen a little bit of Inspector Gadget. That was a really good show. They had Fraggle Rock, the cartoon version of Muppet Babies. The 80s version is better, by the way. And then I think last but not least of my favorite cartoon shows from the 80s era would have to be like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. That was the best one. But the music we had, let's see, when it came to like, I listened to like funk music, R&B soul that came out from the 80s. Like that funk music, I listened to Rick James, the Isley Brothers. That one band that made Let It Whip, that's my favorite group right there. They still had the Gap Band, Zapp and Roger, Troutman, RP, and I will never forget my favorite, like, let's see, who's a, like, before I get to hip hop, I would say I liked um the group that made I'll Be Good, Renee and um damn, I forgot who it was that was part of that group, but the group that made I Love the Dough. But anyway, that was like the best ones. But the rap that we had Easy E, NWA, Curtis Blow, Run DMC. We had Beastie Boys. I fuck with them. Let's see who else was really amazing during the time of the '80s. Rap groups. We had Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. We had, of course, Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh. We even had who else was part of the '80s era? Like when it came to rap, Big Daddy Kane, LL Cool J. I fuck with them. And then we even have Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff. And let me not forget about another L artist, Too Short. Too Short was popping in the '80s. Schoolie D, Boogie Down Productions, MC Sean. Like the '80s era, let's see, that was one of the best ones. Then we go to the '90s era. We had the best cartoon. '90s era had the best cartoon shows such as the Super Mario Brothers 3, and of course, let me not forget about Rugrats, Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, Rocket Power, and they also had another Timon and Pumbaa, Recess. One of my other childhood favorites, Bear in the Big Blue House. That was one of my favorite kids shows of all time. It still is to this very day. We also had, let's see, '90s also had another iconic '90s kid show, like with Arthur. That was PBS Kids. And they had Barney and all the good stuff. Let's see. Movies I've seen from the '90s, kid movies. I've seen Toy Story, a little bit of Lion King. But yeah, I think I've seen the whole entire thing. Toy Story 2. Let's see, what was another kid movie? I've seen a whole lot. I've seen Major Payne on a recorded VHS tape though. Then on cable. Space Jam. I've seen. What was another movie I've seen that was like kid friendly? I've seen a whole lot of them. Live shows and movies from the '90s. It could be PG, PG-13, rated R. Like I've seen Friday, Boys in the Hood. I ain't seen Boys in the Hood until I was like, what, 11 years old. I ain't seen Menace to Society until I was like 12. And I damn sure didn't see The Players Club. Okay, there were a few times I've seen The Players Club, but not a whole lot. But I ain't fully watched the movie until I was like 18. There was a lot of movies from the '90s and TV shows that was really amazing that we'll talk about for another time. Now, my era, the era I was born in, the early 2000s. Everybody should know I'm 22 years old. Let's see, the early 2000s, we had the cartoon shows on lockdown. Oh, I forgot to mention, when it came to the late '90s, we had Courage the Cowardly Dog, Ed, Edd n Eddy, and shows that were on Cartoon Network like Dexter. But back to the early 2000 era, we had Codename Kids Next Door on lock. We also had some more shows on Cartoon Network that had the network on lockdown, like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Like, it was just a whole lot of cartoons from that time period. Even the original Teen Titans was the best. Like, there was a lot of hot bangers during that time. Let's see, early 2000s. What's the era of wearing clothes that was like twice your size? And then also, where that that was the era of ill music. I forgot to speak on the music part, but never mind about that. By the way, I will say, like, rap music, R&B music in the 90s, even the New Jack Swing was really popping. I like that. Like, the 90s had that flavor that everybody enjoyed. But, the early 2000s, that was the era of downloading music off of LimeWire or getting music off of Napster, Rhapsody. When you spell Rhapsody, it's Rhapsody, Rhapsody. There we go. And then I'll also say that another thing that was like really good about the early 2000s was like, of course, buying albums. If you feel like you didn't want to like make your own CD, you could still like go to the store and buy a whole album. The video games also in the 90s was amazing too. I forgot to mention that as well. Video games in the 90s was really good. Early 2000s with video games, that was like really good. To me, I got Army Man Star Trios 2, Conquer's Bad for Day, Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2, the Fight Night series, Knockout Kings. We got Call of Duty, Mario Kart, all the good stuff that I could think of. We also had real good movies such as How High, and then we also had, let's see, we even had like Spider-Man movies. We had a whole lot of bangers during that time frame. But the most iconic early 2000 movies, like if it's like '01 or '02, 2001 of course belonged to Shrek. That's one of my childhood movies. 2002, give it to, like, it's between All About the Benjamins or Friday After Next. I'm gonna just give this one to All About the Benjamins because that was one of my favorite movies. I remember watching the entire movie by the time I was like 8 years old. That was one of the best movies of all time. We had the best commercials and everything. The best commercials to me during the early 2000s, I will never forget, was the Empire Today commercial, the Kima Boardwalk commercial. If you're from Houston, you should know about the Smith and Hessler commercials. You should know about that, and the Whataburger commercials like hell. Let's see. What I also liked about the early 2000s, like almost like the mid-late 2000s, the invasion of iPhones. My favorite iPhone before the 2000 era was about to be over with was the iPhone 3 because my grandmother, she had an iPhone 3. That was one of the best phones I liked using. Like, I never had one ever. Like, I never had an iPhone during the time of me being in elementary. But yeah. Also, like, how they came out with the Nintendo Wii. They had a whole internet channel. I like that about the Wii. We had the game system, game console wars, like PlayStation 2 versus Xbox versus the GameCube. That was the best time ever. Then it became the PS3 versus Xbox 360 versus the Wii. Trying to figure out which one was better. Last and finally, the 2010 era. During the time of me about to be hitting the age of 10. Let's see, 2010, we had the start of Regular Show, Mad, Adventure Time, like Amazing World of Gumball was 2011, alongside the Looney Tunes show. That was the best. Those are my favorite shows right there. 2010 movies from the 2010 era I like. Of course, I like the movie To Lottery Ticket. I've seen The Fighter, the story about the boxer Mickey Ward. Also, like the one movie from the 2010 era. What was it like in the year 2010 itself? I seen the Valentine's Day movie. It was okay, even though I really don't feel like watching it. Let's see. They even had Stump the Yard 2 Homecoming. It wasn't like a trip to the theaters. It's more like a direct to video type ordeal, basically. Another 2010 movie I gladly rock with for sure would have to be no, I'm gonna just get to 2011. 2011 we had Real Steel, we had some more ill movies like Puss in Boots. Oh wait, 2010 we had Megamind. That's one of the movies I could say I rock with. That's from 2010. Despicable Me, somewhat there. Let me stop bullshitting. I fuck with that movie all the way. Like 2011, 2012, those like good times of music. Of course, we did have the start of like rappers trying to use auto tune and shit. I was like, man, we can't be having the type, but still. But there were some songs by Future I fuck with, like Straight Up, At the Same Damn Time, and Never End, the remix. Ignore the notification that y'all keep hearing. But anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up. I'd like to say thank y'all for tuning into today's video. Make sure y'all let me know down in the comments what was your favorite era, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, or 2010. But make sure y'all click that subscribe button, but click the bell so y'all can be notified. Don't miss my videos, so y'all can be notified. But anyway, don't forget to add me on my social media at YoungPhilip_00. That's my Instagram, Snapchat at Ryan361005, and my TikTok at YoungPhilip00. And with that being said, I'm out.